Hi everyone, and welcome to Jeff Willis Show. Today I have with me Jeremy Parker. Now, Jeremy graduated from Boston University in 2007, where he majored in film production during his junior year when his feature-length documentary secured the Audience Award at the 2006 Vail Film Festival. Following his academic achievements, Jerry embarked on a diverse career path. He established a creative promotional product division under MV Sport, then in collaboration with his brother David and Jesse Itzler, co-founder of Marquee, jet investor and partner in Zico, Coconut Water, and owner of the Atlanta Hawks, Jeremy co-founded the e-commerce platform designed to distribute unique promotion codes through social media influencers, Facebook and Twitter posts. This platform was acquired by a publicly traded company. He is now currently serving as a co-founder and CEO of Swag.com, which is acquired by Custom Inc. in November 2021. Jeremy has positioned the company as a premier destination for businesses looking to purchase and distribute quality promotional products. Swag.com boasts an extensive clientele, including major players like Facebook, Google, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Spotify, and TikTok. Jeremy, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
So, Jeremy, you sound like you have a little bit of a creative spirit. So you obviously, when you finished Boston Uni, you decided, well, at Boston Uni, you created a feature-length documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So what were you doing at Boston Uni that led to, you doing full-length documentary that won an award? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I grew up in a household of artists. My mom is a painter and a creative, and I've always, from a very young age, had been like more leaning towards being a creative. My brother's a creative as well, so I went to Boston University as a film major. That was my major in college.
Right. Okay.
And, maybe 18 years old, I guess that's how old I was. I created a documentary film with my brother called 1%. And I don't want to ruin the movie, but basically, we ended up winning the Vail Film Festival in 2006. And as you can imagine, I was a 19-year-old filmmaker, and I'm at the top of the mountain in Vail, Colorado. And Vail is one of the top film festivals in the country. And I remember they had this quote unquote celebrity brunch the next day. And so after I'm coming off the high of a win, I'm pretty young at this point. It's my first movie I ever made, really. And
Okay.
I go into the celebrity brunch, and half the room are major actors that we've all heard of, right?
Wow.
Like A-list actors, and half the room are more struggling artists, because that's what film festivals are. Like, it's a combination of like struggling artists who haven't yet made it, and these big time actors that are kind of doing it as like a side gig to be part of the artsy world. And I asked myself two questions. Number one, am I that good at filmmaking? And number two, do I truly love it? And honestly, both answers were no. And it was just like a moment of realization of maybe this is not the career choice for me, even though it's like a weird thing to like be on such a high and coming off of a win. I really did that internal gut check, and I said to myself, I just don't think this is the long-term path for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Went back to Boston University. I had about a year left of college, finished up college, and then my entire background was in filmmaking. So as you can imagine, I didn't really know what I wanted to do after college. I didn't really have any other experience. And I thought I was just coming across the term entrepreneur. And I thought maybe I'll just start a business, because I'm fairly good at building brands and telling stories, because that's what you do with filmmaking. Maybe I could take that skill set and bring it to building a company and telling a story and building So that's what I did. And I launched my first business out of college, no experience. Honestly, the main idea was not to necessarily become wealthy or even become successful from the first idea. It was really just to learn what I liked doing, like what I enjoyed. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just picked a random idea. I said, let's start a t-shirt company. Because in my head, I'm like, t-shirt company, it sounds fairly easy. It wasn't, but it sounded fairly easy. And I figured that I would learn like what I was good at, like manufacturing. Maybe that's what I liked, or building websites, or PR and marketing, or production. Like I didn't know what I was really good at, frankly. And I started a t-shirt company, and it was just so many different aspects of building a business fall into this one t-shirt company. And I just learned a lot about what I truly love to do, and about, how hard it is, frankly, to start a business that works.
Mm-hmm. So you did the t-shirt company.
Mm-hmm.
What did you discover that you really did enjoy? What brought you satisfaction, and uh, I suppose not deep joy is maybe not the right term to use here, but something that just you say inside, this feels right. And
Mm-hmm.
I really not only love the destination or where I'm going, but also I love the process, because quite often you've got to fall in love with the process. I remember Steven Spielberg, I think, said it. He said, "You're not only going to love what you do, you've got to fall in love with the process of what you do." And that was even filmmaking. And obviously, it sounded like you didn't enjoy the process of filmmaking. What did you discover by doing the T-shirt company? Were there any aha moments and things you really, oh, gee, I hate this, or I really love that? What
Totally.
were your feelings there?
Totally. I found a few things I was fairly good at that I thought I was very super uniquely good at. And I also found some things that I truly love to do. And the cool thing about it is that they both kind of, in so many ways, intersected. So I love building a brand. I love the idea of having an idea and seeing it come to life. The same way that I built, this movie, and I had an idea for a film, and then 7 months later, the film was live. It was just this amazing feeling of being able to create something out of nothing. The idea of having an idea for this t-shirt company, which was called, horrible name at the time, honestly. I probably wasn't very good at branding early on, but I loved it. It was called Tees and Tats. It was a high-end t-shirt company about tattoo apparel, right? And I always was fascinated by tattoo designs, and I don't have any tattoos, but I was just fascinated by
I was going to ask that.
artistry. Yeah, I thought it was cool, and I created this really high end limited edition t-shirt company, and I built this whole story around it and a brand around it, and they were super high end, like $300 t-shirts, like really like the most expensive t-shirt you could do, because I positioned it as a piece of artwork, so much so that some of our customers honestly bought shirts and framed it for their office because it was beautiful. It was like more than just a t-shirt. It was like a wearable piece of art. So I was telling this really cool story about that. And I also found myself really falling in love with the sales process. Like, it's kind of weird. People always put down salespeople, but I found myself loving it. I was talking to so many people. I was telling the story. It was like a game in many ways. Like, can I get this shirt in the hands of buyers, whether that's through an online mechanism like e-commerce, or like I was doing, knocking on doors and going to different boutiques and trying to get it in the store and try to get better placement. And the whole process was somewhat of a game, and it was fun. I really loved that aspect. And what was interesting about it is this was in 2007. So if I could take your viewers back to 2007, this is when the recession hit. And yes, people don't really want to buy $300 t-shirts when they can't afford dinner and they can't afford groceries and they're losing their jobs. So it wasn't the best time to launch it. We launched it about 3 months before the recession, and we were in all these different boutiques. And I came up with and this is where it kind of gets me to swag, and I'll just kind of tell you the story. I was reading a blog called Blog Maverick by Mark Cuban, and everyone's familiar with Mark Cuban, yeah. Shark Tank, going there. And obviously I was very new to the entrepreneurship world, so I was trying to read as much as I could and learn from all these people who I view as experts. And I had this idea of taking the prices of our shirts, the $300 t-shirts, and tying it to the Dow Jones, right? Because the Dow was dropping, the recession was hitting. And I said, for every 100 points the Dow drops, I'm going to give a discount on your t-shirt price. Now, it's the gimmickiest of ideas, right? But I was 21 years old, and that's as listeners, if you have young listeners, it's actually important to take advantage of your youth. A lot of people give, they want to help you when you're young and when you're, doing crazy things. It's kind of like a fun thing to help a young kid. And I found myself getting a lot of value from just being a young entrepreneur willing to do kind of crazy things. And that's, I think, a big thing about, from my experience. So I wrote to Mark Cuban. I said, Mark, I have this amazing idea. It's actually been working. We've been tying the prices of our shirts to the Dow Jones. And he responded within 10 minutes. This is like a cold email. And he said, Jeremy, I love the entrepreneurial spirit. This is what's going to help us get through this period of time. Do you mind if I write about you in my blog? I said, of course. This is crazy, amazing, awesome. Do it. Let's do it. And Mark wrote about us within like 10 minutes. He posted it into his blog. It was seen by a writer from Ad Age, which is a big marketing magazine.
Yes, I know Ad Age.
They wrote about us. And ultimately, I got in front of this guy, Elliot Pizer, who is a big-time CEO. He's the CEO of a company called MV Sport. And they're a very large company in the promotional product space, specifically around collegiate apparel. So if you go to a University of Maryland bookstore or Harvard University bookstore, you're going to see shirts branded with the Harvard logo on Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, all the companies that you've expected, and MV Sport. No one's ever heard of really MV Sport, but they do a lot of licensed apparel. Yep. And I met up with Elliot. We hit it off. We would bounce ideas off each other. I was like a young 21, 22-year-old kid. And we would regularly meet and we'd have lunches and we would talk and we would brainstorm different ideas. And ultimately, Elliot said to me, if you want to start a business under my umbrella, and they have a very large company, they have a company called Weatherproof Garment Company, which is outerwear jackets. They're a really big company. He said, I will fund a startup idea that you could build within our umbrella company. And for me, as a young entrepreneur, very little experience, like really very little, I was like, this is going to be the ultimate experience for me just to learn anything, like learn how to work within a large organization, learn how other people do it. Just honestly test things without using my own capital and just learn and make mistakes. And it was an amazing thing. But I built a company under MV Sport called Vote for Art. And what we did is we formed agreements and partnerships with different collegiate colleges like University of Maryland, and we would host a graphic design contest at the school, and the winning design was printed on t-shirts and that were sold at the bookstore, at the basketball stadium. So the idea was to make collegiate apparel more fun and more cool and allow the students to reimagine their brand and their logo, etc. And I did that for about 3 years under MV Sport, and I did it at many different schools, like huge schools, and I traveled all over the country, and I went to Purdue University and all over. And I learned so much about the promotional product industry. Like I know knowledge about how to print stuff and licensing and agreements and this or that. I took a break from that after 3 years, started a business, as you mentioned earlier, with my brother and Jesse Itzler. We did product placement in YouTube videos and social media stars. So now imagine you watch a YouTube video. Every video has product placement, right? That somebody's drinking a can of Coke in the video and Coca-Cola is paying millions of dollars. Like it's a common practice now that YouTube stars, Mr. Beast, all these guys are making millions of dollars. Back in the day, I'm 38 now. So what was this, 13, 14 years ago? That wasn't the case. These YouTube stars were living in their parents' basement. They were getting millions of views, more views than American Idol gets, but they were making very little money. And we had this idea, what if we partnered up with major companies like State Farm, Colgate, Verizon, and we got these brands into the YouTube stars? So we would represent a lot of these YouTube stars and allow them to make money, like be the middleman on brokerage deals. And we made a lot of these YouTube stars millionaires. Frankly, it was the Wild West at the time. We got deals from State Farm, a lot, Wonderful Pistachios, all these big companies. And we got these big brands into the videos. And then it got us thinking, well, why don't we actually partner with major, well-known celebrities and buy the rights to their social presence? So this is at the time where Twitter was just coming out. I mean, now Twitter or X everyone knows all these platforms, but early on, these things were so new. This was like a startup. Twitter was a startup. And just to put in perspective, one of the big celebrities that we ended up partnering up with and owning his rights had like 4,000 followers on Twitter at the time. Now that person has over 40 million followers. So to put in perspective how early we were, we started buying up the rights to all these major global celebrities, where basically the idea was they could not do any promotional tweet or any post on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube without coming to us. We would be like their representative. We would bring them deals. And it was a little bit more complicated than that, but that was like the high level thing. And that company ultimately got acquired by a publicly traded company. So I was 25 years old. I believe I was even living in my parents' house at that point. I haven't moved out. I was single. And I just sold this company for millions of dollars to a publicly traded company. And then I had my first, I guess, major failure. Like after that, after coming on like win type of thing experience, I had this really big failure where we started a social networking company called Vouch. And it was based on what your favorite things are. So we had this big idea of looking at Facebook, right? Facebook is a massive platform, and everyone took a piece of Facebook and made a dedicated experience around it. Instagram took the pictures and made a better experience around pictures. And Twitter took the status update, and Snapchat took the poke, and all these, and LinkedIn took the job and what you're interested in, and all these different things. And our idea was, what if we took the like button, and what if we owned the like button and made a really amazing, dedicated experience about what you truly love? So Jeff, I could follow you, I could follow my friends, I could follow celebrities and see all the things you love, whether it's your favorite book or your restaurant or this or that. And it's like a true actual recommendation, but we made it fun. And that's really where Facebook monetizes all their money, right? They know what people like, so they can advertise. And I still think the idea is awesome. I think we built the wrong solution. I don't think we were the right guys to build that solution. And I spent about 3 years doing that, and it ultimately had to be shut down. So that was tough. And then after that, I just had this idea for Swag, because Swag was something I fell in love with as my first job working under MV Sport. And it was a full cycle. I'm like, let me try to disrupt this industry that I fell in love with so long ago. And so I launched Swag in 2016.
Before we get into swag, I'm intrigued by one part of the element of promotion and t-shirt is the
Mhm,
design part. And like, for
mhm,
example, when you're working under the banner of MB Sport,
mhm,
you basically ran a design competition and
mhm.
the best one got printed in, you know,
Yep.
the university's store. Do you enjoy design? Is that part of what you do love doing as well? And did you do some of your do all your own designs for the $300 t-shirts? Tell
Mhm.
us about the design. Is there a passion for design within you that you love?
Totally. Totally. I love it. Even today, I was a CEO of swag.com, but I was also head of product. So everything you see on swag.com in terms of the user experience and the design, we have one designer, Steven, I've been working with for the last 5 years. Um, I do all the user experience with him. Like I have an idea, we work on it together, we analyze the whole entire vibe of it. It's very rare for the CEO to also be head of product. It's not a normal thing, but it's something that I think I'm fairly good at, and I enjoy it. And obviously, when you want to work on something, you want to do the aspects of the job that you enjoy the most,
Yes.
because usually you give it your all. You come to the job with real motivation and like a spirit, and that's what gave me that kind of energy. So I love design. I love branding. I love making sure things look really good. They're really elegant. They're frictionless. It's kind of a weird obsession, but I was able to take that obsession and move it towards the swag space. And within the swag industry, it was so exciting. And the reason kind of why I wanted to get into it is I looked at this massive industry. It's a $23 billion industry. It's only growing. I mean, every company, charity, organization buys swag, but there's very little at the time. There was very, very little innovation, and everything was handled through back and forth emails, presentation decks, traveling salesman. That's what the industry is made up of, traveling salesman. And the idea was, well, the buyer is a much younger buyer than it used to be. Maybe back in the day, it was good to show up at the office and bring all your samples and do back and forth emails, but today the buyer is a millennial and the buyer wants to have a buying experience where it's frictionless, where they don't have to talk to anyone, frankly, where they can easily find exactly what they're looking for, design it, buy it in a matter of seconds, click a button, send the swag to your office, click a button, have that swag held in inventory for individual distributions. You want to do kitted boxes, onboarding, welcome kits, do it all on the site. Like every single thing that was complicated, that was fragmented, that was disconnected, that frankly made it impossible for people to scale in our industry. We one by one removed all the friction over the years, and we made a really robust automated experience that now we have, north of 15,000 companies that buy from us, like the biggest names in the world buy from us, and we're warehousing swag for Amazon. I mean, just imagine Amazon is now warehousing their swag with us and holding their inventory in our portal where they can individually distribute. So we're really just trying to make the experience so much better for our clients, and that's what gets me excited, like how we could keep pushing the boundaries.
Right. Yeah, I've had a little bit of experience with swag, and it did look very convoluted from what I could from an outsider looking in. So you essentially saw a problem, which is all this friction, all this uh, almost like confusion and no simple processes for getting things done. And you basically put that pretty well all online.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Yeah, we made it all online, and as you can imagine, when I was starting the business, there's a lot of naysayers because it makes sense. Like, why are you going into a crowded space? There's 22,000 promo distributors. There's a lot of people selling swag. I mean, the average promo distributor, which swag.com is technically a distributor, the average one does about 500,000 to $1 million, and there's a lot of them. That's what the whole industry is made up of. A lot
Yeah.
of people doing hand-to-hand combat and selling. And how can you break through the noise? And our feeling was, well, if we really make an amazing, we did a lot of other things to break through, but the end goal was to build a really amazing platform that allowed people to check out in seconds. Things that used to take days or weeks now take literally 30 seconds and minutes to do. So we just really streamlined everything and found the best suppliers and the best products, not offering thousands of mugs. We offer the top 25 mugs. We want to curate things down to be super easy for people to not only find what they're looking for, design it, buy it, check out in seconds, and then, move on to the next door, like make it up to date the industry. That was kind of the idea. And it took a while. I mean, 8 years is not such a long time, but it does take a long time to kind of figure out exactly the right experience to build. So we had this mindset of listening to our customers and building what they wanted.
So essentially, you took a hand-to-hand combat industry, um,
Mm-hmm.
and turn it into a technology industry.
Totally.
Yeah. And what were some of the challenges? Because basically you're gone from, selling in university stores, and the experience you had, to becoming a software developer, really. So what were the challenges there?
I mean, a lot of challenges. I mean, over the years, I've learned how to make technology easy to use and somewhat frictionless. But I think the main thing when I was starting swag.com, I had a couple of principles in mind. I wanted to make sales from day one. That was a very important thing. And that stemmed from Vouch, the company that I did for 3 years that didn't work out. I was trying to learn what I could have taken away from that experience, or how I could have prevented an experience like that from happening again. And one of the biggest things with Vouch, and why I believe it failed, is it's in many ways my fault. I was so obsessed with the design of Vouch, and I overthought every little feature. Just imagine, like, when you're building a website or a mobile app, every little feature, what happens when the person swipes the button this way or that way, or what color should this be? And I honestly lost sleep over all the little details. And what happened was, I didn't launch for 1 year because we started building this platform. It took a long time to build out this based on what I thought would be the ultimate platform. And then I launched it. And I realized all the things that I lost sleep over, none of the customers gave a shit about. That was the thing. It was like, I just wasted a full year of my life building the wrong thing. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do that. They build the wrong thing because they're afraid to get it out. They make excuses to keep it within. And a lot of people, and I see this with a lot of my friends, like, everyone keeps building, when if they just launched it, they would have known, do we even have anything here? And I said to myself, the next business that I start, I'm going to start making sales from day one. I'm going to start making sales before I have anything. I'm going to have a coming soon landing page. I'm going to go the opposite. And I think that's one of the big reasons why swag.com succeeded in such a way, because from day one, we had the swag.com domain name, which I bought, and I had the landing page that said coming soon. I had nothing. And I said, I'm just going to learn as much as possible. So I honestly went to LinkedIn and I reached out to hundreds of marketing managers, hundreds of marketing teams and event planners. That's who I initially thought would be my target audience. And I went to WeWork, and we were actually in a WeWork, and we walked up and down the hallways talking to as many people and got rejected. Just being so comfortable, being uncomfortable, putting ourselves out there and talking to people. And our feeling was this, like, we're either going to make a sale, which is going to be amazing, or we're going to learn why they're not working with us and why they're working with somebody else. And we're going to learn what the right solution we should be building is. I didn't build anything. I didn't design anything until I knew what the right thing to build was. That was the difference. Like with Vouch, I built what I thought was the right thing and it ended up being the wrong thing. I wanted to build the right thing. So I wanted to learn from customers so I could build exactly the right thing. So we just spoke to as many people as we possibly could. And what was interesting, the people who I thought I would initially sell to, which is the marketing team, event planners, ended up being the wrong user for us initially. And I wouldn't have known that if I started building the solution that I thought. I had the wrong. So what happened was I started talking to literally hundreds of marketing teams, and I realized everyone's going after the marketing manager. Everybody, every promo distributor is going after the marketing team. How can swag.com, a no-name brand, a coming soon landing page, cut through the noise? That was kind of my question. And what I found is the office manager, who no one ever goes after, they're the really kind of Trojan horse within the company. Office manager buys for internal purposes. So if you're a 10-person startup, the office manager is buying for only 10 people. They don't have the biggest budget. If they're an office manager of a 100-person company, they're buying for 100 people. Still not the biggest budget, right? Marketing teams have the big budgets. They're buying for the trade shows. They're buying for giving out to customers, for leads. But everyone's going after them. Office manager, if you get the office manager of Netflix that has maybe 1,000 employees, every single t-shirt will say swag.com in the inner label. They're doing the marketing for us. Netflix buys 1,000 t-shirts. They're giving it out to the marketing team. They're giving out to the sales team, to the London office, to the New York office. They're doing the job for us. The marketing team sees the shirt. They see the quality. They see swag.com. Why don't we use swag.com? It becomes like the social proof where we're getting in the company. And no one was going after the office manager. That was a big insight from the early days. And I wouldn't have discovered that unless I kind of got out of my own way and started having these conversations with people to really learn. Once we noticed that office manager is kind of like the secret gateway, we went all in and we started talking to as many office managers and getting so many contacts and so many customers, and frankly, building the right solution specifically designed for the office manager. Ultimately, we added features that were good for the marketing teams and the sales teams, but that was secondary. Like when you're starting a business, you can't be everything to everyone. So pick one person, but make sure it's the right one contact to really kind of break through the noise.
Yeah. So that's really, really important. A lot of entrepreneurs don't get it, is you've got to find as fast as possible who is your customer, who's your perfect customer. And you discovered it was something quite different to what the other 20,000 firms are chasing, which is the marketing manager. So you were learning before you launched in a way, but I suppose selling manually, was that sort of like, so you're selling stuff, but that was the hand-to-hand combat sort of scenario.
Totally.
Yeah.
We want to learn. I want to be like everyone else, so that, but with the intent that I wasn't going to stay like everyone else. Or like everyone else is doing hand-to-hand combat, but they've been doing it for 20 years. The intent was for me to do it for a year, make sales, but really learn within that year of how I could build the right automated solution. So every aspect that was annoying for me, like I'll tell you, one of the big things that were really annoying for me early on were price quoting. It was a really annoying process. Somebody wanted 100 t-shirts and they wanted a front and the back print, and their front had a 3-color logo and their back had a 2-color logo. Just a simple order like that took like half an hour to an hour to go to the supplier's website, see the inventory counts, do the math equation, put in the spreadsheet. It was a nightmare. And my first thing was, why don't I just build an automated tool where I could just plug in front and the back, 100 quantity. Oh, I want to make it 200 quantity. And it automatically, dynamically price shifts the whole thing. And I just kept finding all these different troubling, annoying processes that I would just be able to streamline. And now the site is completely, I mean, our site is so good now where you could upload your logo and our system detects how many colors are in the logo and the nearest Pantone match. We have like patent pending technology that if you upload a vector file, we could find the nearest Pantone. It's a whole different calculation of color. No one knows this stuff, but like Pantone is like the physical color that you print. Vector files online are the colors you see on your website, right? There's like an unlimited trillions of colors that you're looking at right now on your screen, but there's only a handful of colors that you could print. They're different. So how do you match those two up? A lot of companies buying swag don't know their Pantone colors. They don't know the physical color that they should be printing.
No.
But our system is able to detect that and decipher it. And like we built all the, like literally everything that was a challenge. We're like, how do we attack this and figure out a solution to streamline it? And that's what we did over the years.
Very, very cool. And is AI part of that technology yet, or is it being built in as we speak, or has it already been built in?
AI is something that we've been thinking about even pre-ChatGPT. It's stuff that we have certain things built into the system, and we have other things that are on the horizon. You know, it would be really cool. We were thinking of, imagine you're talking to a sales rep and you're just having a conversation, like, right? And you asking the sales rep, I have an event coming up and the audience is X, Y, or Z, and I have this, my budget, etc. And then the sales rep goes and figures out products and makes selections. And then the customer says, I don't like this or I like that. And great. And that takes time. And wouldn't it be cool if there was a conversational piece to the site where people could just literally talk to the website and say, like, as if we're talking like right now, I have this upcoming event and, you know, it's this type of user, that type of user. And the system automatically curates the exact right products based on the price points, the in-hand days, the production times, all these things, really streamlines it. And then what if they say, hey, and I also work for Facebook. I don't have my logo on me. And then the system knows to pull the right logo and could generate 20 different designs with Facebook. So they could just select a design without having their designer even create anything. Now, obviously, Facebook's going to want their own designers most likely to design something, but at least to get them started and give them an idea or some suggestions, or maybe for the simple stuff, our system could automatically generate designs. So we have a lot of ideas of where we're going. But at the same time, we don't necessarily need to push it because the industry is a little bit, you know, old school, a little more fragmented. Already we're ahead of the curve. We don't need to like bring it 20 years ahead. We got to do it in the right enough time. Like if Elon Musk was launching Tesla, you know, 100 years ago, it would be too early. Now it's the right time. So you want to be a little bit ahead of where people are, but not too ahead.
Yeah. Let's quickly go back to, because I'm curious about this, is there's a term tossed around all the time, which is overused, but is important. MVP, minimal viable product.
Yeah.
So you're hand-to-hand combat for a year. You're in the trenches. You're learning about the customer and how to serve them. Who is the customer? What do they really want? Now let's automate it. So what was your first minimal viable product? What did you kick off with, and how long did it take to build that?
Yeah, it took us about 3 months to build the minimum viable product. It had none of the bells and whistles for swag.com. It was literally just a homepage, a browse experience, and no filters. So no filters to find products you're looking for, no search functionality, none of that. It was just I think it was about 5 to 10 categories, like notebooks, water bottles, pens. I don't even think it had subcategories. It wasn't like apparel, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats. It was just apparel. And we had specific products. I think we had about 10 products per each category. So it wasn't a lot of products. And we just allowed people to upload their logo so they can mock up their stuff, but they couldn't, the system didn't generate the colors or how many colors. There was no like instant quote tool. They had to manually input how many colors were in. So it was like an honor system, honestly, because if somebody put one color and there's a 3-color print, we wouldn't like reach back out to them to charge them for the extra color. It was because we had a 2-person team. It was me and my co-founder, Josh. Like it was all honor system, right? And no like building boxes, no warehousing, no distribution, just a regular checkout flow. And that was it. Like right now we have the ability for clients to check out via ACH or net terms or net 30. And it's a big system. Like our system in the beginning was so bare bones and we didn't make that many sales. It wasn't like amazing, but we learned that it was enough of an interest. Our clients were buying here and there. We probably did about $10,000 a month at that point. I remember 2017, January 1st, we launched the site. And by the end of 2017, we did 1.1 million of sales. So, but most of the sales were like on end of Q3, Q4. So the first half of the year, it was very slow, but we were learning a lot. And we saw that people wanted it, but they were coming up into issues where they couldn't check out. So we had to build solutions to make it easier for them. But we went to 1.1 million at the end of 2017 to 3.1 million, to 7 million, to 15 million, to 30 million. And in 2021, when we were just finishing the year at $30 million a year in sales, Custom Ink acquired us. And now we're doing 40 million, et cetera. But we're part of this Custom Ink family. And I want to just make sure I get this across. I was the CEO for swag.com up until December. So up until about 3.5 months ago. So acquired by Custom Ink in 2021, November, CEO for 2 years. I passed on the CEO title to 𝓲𝓬, who is my right-hand person at swag.com. And I started a new division under Custom Ink. So I am actually back in the MVP phase of this new division under Custom Ink. And I'm calling it, as you see, Swag Space. And I just want to go over high level what it is. It's a really big idea. It's so big, and we'll see if it works. I believe it's going to work. I think it's going to really help a lot of people. So that's kind of why it's giving me the passion to do it. But the idea is this. There's 22,000 promo distributors, all these guys who do hand-to-hand combat. They have no technology. They have no resources. They don't have no warehousing capabilities. They have no box capabilities. They're stuck at the 500,000 to 1 million at best a year, just based on the limit of how long things take to do. Our idea is, what if we took all of the technology that we built at swag.com over the last 8 years and white labeled it and allowed anybody to upload their logos, their brand colors, and instantaneously have the best e-commerce experience on the market to sell to their clients. So now Jenny Promo, who's been always wanting an amazing e-commerce experience to offer her clients, to make sales easier, to do kitted boxes, do warehousing, they would never be able to do it before. You'd have to have millions of dollars and a knowledge and a know-how and a design passion, the ability to do this. Now with the click of a button and for free, all she has to do is upload her logo and her colors, instantaneous, the best site on the market. And what happens is, once she makes a sale through this platform, it hits my back end, the Custom Ink back end, and we become the de facto supplier as well. So no longer does Jenny Promo need to be working with 30 different suppliers and buy blank goods from here and send it to a screen printer and buy notebooks from this vendor, water bottles from this vendor, which takes a lot of time. I found myself in that 2016 year when I was that hand-to-hand combat learning, I found myself spending about 20% of my day on selling and 80% of my day on, frankly, the bullshit of fulfilling orders. What if Jenny Promo no longer has to deal with the bullshit? What if she could just make more sales, free up her time, streamline her whole operations, and we become this tech layer in between the distributor networks and all the suppliers, becoming the de facto suppliers? That's the idea. But what if you could expand it just beyond even promo? What if designers, event planners, party planners, screen printers, there's all these promotional adjacent industries that could sell swag, that would sell swag, that want to sell swag and make a new revenue stream, but they can't because it's complicated and it's cumbersome and it's difficult and it's a lot of, but now it's not. Imagine like a logo designer creates a logo for somebody. That person takes that logo and goes to a Custom Ink, goes to swag.com, goes to somebody else, right, to buy swag. Why doesn't the designer who just created the logo now create a cart for their client, share the link? It's all fully branded website by the designer. And now the customer who they just create a logo for buys their swag through the designer. Now the designer is making 30% commission and making a huge new revenue stream. We
Yeah.
have people already in the first couple of months who have done over $100,000 in our beta because they're easily able to make sales so easily. We just had, while we're on the call, I got a notification. One of our resellers on SwagSpace just did a $9,000 order through the system. We're allowing anyone who wants to sell swag, with whether you're in the industry or not in the industry, to easily sell it, and we take care of all the operations and logistics.
I love it. You're almost doing, well, you could say you're doing a Shopify to the custom website business, or you're doing an Amazon to the logistics business as well, in
Exactly.
a sense.
That's exactly right.
So it's a little bit of a combination of both, really, isn't it? So it's a little bit like you're given the technology. Because the other thing I was thinking about as you was talking, again, the selling in swag, in one sense, is the simplest part. The logistics and fulfillment is the toughest part, isn't it?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's in the selling part is not the, if you're a salesperson, people want what you're giving them. What's great about the swag industry is that people have typically in-hand dates, right? So I'm talking to you, Jeff, and you're a client. You know when you need this stuff by. You need it by 3 weeks. So it's not like when he's like forever kind of sales processes where you're like, you don't know if it's ever going to close and there's no real time horizon. There's a specifically baked in time horizon for most things, right? Like there's an event, there's a trade show, there's a birthday party, whatever it is. So that's really good. So if you get people who like you, want to work with you, it's not so hard to ultimately close them. It's annoying. It's time consuming because you have to make sure every supplier that you're dealing with has the inventory, which is a lot of back and forth, or has the right colors, or has the right size, or you might want to get samples to them. So some back and forth processes, but it's not such a hard, it's time consuming. The annoying part is once you get the order in, first of all, you have to create an invoice manually, typically, collect the money, you have to collect sales tax, you have to remit sales tax, and you have to buy the stuff from all the different suppliers, and they're all on different timelines. You have to constantly follow up with your rep at the supplier to make sure they don't ever, run slow. If you're doing kitted boxes, you need to get a warehouse, you need to ship all the stuff, consolidate it, you need to box it up. There's so much operational headache in this industry to actually get the product to delivery, and we just remove it. We say, you should focus on selling. Once you make a sale, it hits our back end. We handle everything. We handle logistics. We handle the operations. We have a huge team that does this, and we've had many years of doing it. I mean, Custom Ink's been around for 25 plus years. Swag.com's been around for around 9 years. We have an amazing operational system in place that can handle this type of volume. So it just allows people to focus on what they're good at, and frankly, what they enjoy doing, which is the selling aspect. So that's it. We just make you be a better salesperson.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to hear your story about this, because a lot of persons have a great idea and then they just don't realize until they do it. And that's where when you start everything, you approach it with a beginner's mind. Mm-hmm. In other words, you didn't think anything was impossible, because that's a great space to start from, isn't it? Because if you're a bit older, you're a bit jaded, and you realize where all the reefs lie. So sometimes setting off from shore becomes, I know what's going to happen. It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be difficult logistics. What I'm fascinated a little bit about is during the pandemic, logistics became a nightmare. Yeah. And also inflation happened. And I think really inflation was driven by lack of supply rather than actually any other constraints in terms of pricing pressures. Mm-hmm. How do you go finding suppliers to deliver, quickly and high quality? Is that a big challenge for you guys?
At this point, no, because we have such great relationships. But in the beginning, totally. When I was starting the business with my co-founder Josh in the early days, we didn't have any experience. I mean, I had some experience with MV Sport, which was about 10 years earlier, and it was more on the collegiate side of things. And honestly, it was more apparel. But getting into the promo industry of hard goods, notebooks and pens and mugs, and I mean, thousands of different types of products, umbrellas and speakers. I mean, you could brand anything. It was overwhelming. And I just know for myself over the years going to trade shows, how many things that have been given to me that I just throw away, which is not good, is it right? It's not good for the environment. It's not good for the business, for the brand. Coca-Cola gives out a speaker, and if the speaker's crap and ends up in the trash, who's that good for? It tarnishes Coca-Cola's brand. It's bad for the environment. It costs Coca-Cola money in general. Like the whole intent of swag is to make a statement and stand out, but that only really works if it's high quality. And that was kind of like our key insight, is that everything on our site has to be fully vetted and tested by us. It has to be curated. It has to be like, we don't want to offer 1,000 mugs like our competitors. Our competitors all offer thousands and thousands of options. number one, all that stuff can't be good, right? I mean, like the odds that all 1,000 mugs are good is just frankly unlikely. And then if you're a customer, especially like a millennial or Gen Z, you're overwhelmed by too many choices, right? It's the paradox of choice. Like if you have too many options, you're not going to make any selection. So we want to make it really easy for people to find what they're looking for and everything. So me and my co-founder Josh put a lot of our own money, you know, in the early days. We didn't raise money at that point, and we just bought samples from different suppliers, and we went to trade shows, and we would go to Atlantic City for 2 days and just walking down up the aisles and feel the quality. And we were just like the product. That was our job, is like sourcing and finding products while we're building the site, while we're selling things. We didn't stop. We didn't like wait till we had the perfect selection of products to sell. It was all at the same time. We didn't want to wait. So we would show up with a water bottle and somebody said, hey, do you have a different type of water bottle? I'm like, send me a picture. Then we would go out and try to find that exact water bottle that the client wanted. Like we were constantly finding the products based on customer feedback. So it wasn't like not only building the right solution for customers, it was finding the right selection of products for customers. And that was the mindset shift. You know, as you said before, a lot of people have this fear of failure, even before they start, right? And that kills more dreams. What's that famous quote? Like, fear of failure kills more dreams than failure ever could, or the fear does. And a lot of people get in the head if they start analyzing, well, all the things that could go wrong, maybe I shouldn't even start. And in my perspective as an entrepreneur, I think all entrepreneurs have to have this mentality that the only thing guaranteed is that you will fail, right? But that's okay as long as you overcome it. And you can have millions of failures and millions of things that you thought were going to work out and didn't work out. Millions that, like, that's just a part of the business. You have to be okay with that uncertainty. You have to be okay learning and pivoting and changing. And you got to treat it like a game in many ways. Like, it's not like you're never just going to, I've never heard of a startup guy or girl launch a business and it just work. That doesn't happen. You have to like learn things and make things happen and take opportunities at your advantage. You know, I'll tell you one story, Jeff. During COVID, the whole world shut down, right? March happens. Everything shut down. As you can imagine, the whole swag industry shut down as well, right? No one has trade shows. There's no events. There's no one in the office. Exactly. Everybody was telling me, you got to cut half your team. You got to hibernate. You got to just wait this out. You got to conserve your capital. But my mindset was everyone's thinking that, right? Everyone, all of my competitors are probably thinking that. Everyone's hunkering down. This is probably actually the right time to double down, to spend in certain advertising dollars because no one's spending on advertising. This is actually availability for us to leapfrog some of our competitors and find certain keywords and certain SEO and certain page. Like, we went all in. And then the idea was, but we had this like key insight of, well, if everyone's disconnected, right? No one's in the office. Everyone's at home. Everyone's scared. Everyone's remote. How can we help keep company culture thriving even when no one's in the office? Well, instead of sending swag to their office, why don't we build a system where you could send swag to remote employees, right? It's like all these different things that we just said. We didn't just like wait it out. Like everybody in our industry. What happened at the end of 2020, the whole industry dropped I think close to 40%. The industry dropped. It was like excessive. I think the only reason why it only dropped 20% is because everyone pivoted to masks. But if you just count real promo stuff that weren't like production of masks, it was almost 40% everyone dropped. We grew over 100%. We went from 7 million to 15.5 million. How did we grow over 100%? Everyone's dropping. It's because we saw the opportunity and we dove right in. So I think with the entrepreneurial mindset, you just got to see where pockets of opportunity are and be okay to go all in and try things that other people aren't doing.
Yeah. I think what you did is just awesome in terms of you zigged when everyone else was zagging. And there's the opportunity in doing things a different way. Instead of hand-to-hand combat, you said, let's build technology, even though it's going to take time. Trade shows are shut down. Let's send it to, so incredible. Just to wrap this up then, Jeremy, what are some of the biggest learnings as an entrepreneur you've learned since you started through both, you've had failures, but obviously this has been a great success. And I'm intrigued by the white labeling of the swag industry, which you guys are obviously taking on, which to me sounds essentially you're doing this in an industry that hasn't been done before, but it has been done in other industries. So essentially you're just putting it into your skill and expertise into another industry context. So what are some of the major things that you would like to share that you've learned along the way as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I listed before, I would say you have to be open-minded to failing. I think that's that's to me the key unlock. You know, once I got to the mindset of being okay being embarrassed, being okay being proven wrong, removing my ego. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have an ego by nature. In many ways, you have to have somewhat of an ego because you're doing something that's not normal and that's going to be ridiculed by other people. You know, how many times when I was starting the business, any of my businesses, did people think I was unemployed because I say I'm an entrepreneur? Like that's the mindset. Unless you actually make it, everyone thinks that you're just wasting your time, and their job is the real job, etc. So you have to completely remove your ego and be okay with that failure and the constant failure. Just knowing that the end goal is where you want to get to. I mean, that's it for me. It's like, I knew I wanted to build a really big business and I wanted to help a lot of people and I wanted to streamline it. And I felt like I was going to figure it out. I didn't have all the answers from day one, and no one does. And a lot of people think you have to have all the answers. You have to have like a blueprint, but I can guarantee it's like, what's that famous, like Mike Tyson quote? Like everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face.
Exactly. Yeah. I love
And
that quote.
I think that's the same exact thing with entrepreneurship. It's like, you have to, if you're, as long as you have to be in that mindset that that's going to happen, and you have to be okay to zig when everyone zags, or even just yourself. Like, how many times did I pivot when I thought I was going for the marketing team and I had to realize it was actually the office manager they were going after, or I was building this solution just to end up building a industry distribution platform. Or now that we got to the point with swag.com, now I'm changing it to be swag space, to white label the technology and offer it to the other 22,000. You constantly have to be thinking bigger and bigger and bigger and seeing where opportunities you know, display themselves, show themselves.
Yeah. And what do you think the size of the industry is if you basically you're trying to expand the industry, you're trying to basically take it from 23 billion to maybe making it 50 billion?
Totally. I think we want to expand it. And just to put in perspective how big these numbers get, there's 22,000. If the average promo distributor does $1 million in sales, just keep it round numbers, 500,000 to $1 million a year. And now they start doing all of their swag through us. If we have 1,000 of the 22,000, that's $1 billion, right? Wow. Worth of revenue. If you get, there's 22,000 screen printers that would love to sell swag. They're already doing apparel, but why can't now they offer notebooks and pens and mugs? They should, but it's been complicated. Now we allow all the screen printers to do it. Designers, there's 150,000 designers in the US alone. Right there, helping people with logos and branding. There's PR agencies that are helping people do events and trade shows. There's all these promo adjacent industries. You know, are they going to be doing $1 million in sales a year? Most likely no. But can you have like even the work at home mom who, you know, could sell to her local charity or to her, you know, why not to a local school, sell $10,000 to the school? She makes now $3,000 in extra money. Anybody, whether you're in the industry or you want to be in the industry or you want to do as a side hustle, we just power the whole industry for swag selling. We become like this universal swag platform. So I think it could be immense. I think if it works, it could really be way bigger than the swag. That like it could be a massive business. Now, there's challenges to it, right? There's learning. We have to still we just launched 45 days ago, so we're very new. But I think if we could get it right, and if we could take all the technology and all the learnings that we've done over the last 8 years with swag.com and really take it to this new industries, I think we could really, really help a lot of people out.
Yeah, it's you're creating a new market in a sense.
Yep.
And
totally.
that is very exciting. So my final question, Jeremy, is I ask everyone is, if you had all the money in the world, and obviously you've done well in the last few years, been acquired, what would you do for free that brings you joy and happiness every day?
That's a great question. I think about this often. For me, my family, you know, I have 2 young kids. So I'm excited to, when they come home from school, my he's only about 18 months now. Just getting to play with my family. You know, I live on the beach. I'm looking at the ocean right now. Just hang out with family and get into amazing shape. I think for those 2 things, if I could be, you know, I'm 38. I want to stay young. I want to feel young. I want to be able to build businesses, not because I need the money at all, but because I enjoy it. And I enjoy kind of how hard it is, frankly, in many ways. I enjoy like that's a challenge. You know, I like to keep my mind sharp. This is fun for me. So I feel like even if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would still constantly be building and trying challenges and trying to work through. So business, fitness, and my kids, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, you know, that's so true. I spent time with my grandson the other day, and we went for a walk through the little gully nature, and I said, let's go on an adventure path, and you should have seen him light up. So this is not just a sidewalk, it's an adventure path.
Totally.
And I just try to see the world through a small child's eyes, like we were all born with, and to maintain that younger mindset. And apparently the science is showing that keeping a young mindset adds 7.5 years to a person's life. So
Awesome.
sounds like you can live longer, Jeremy.
Hope so. Hope so.
Jeremy, thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you for
love your energy and thank you for sharing your stories to help other people grow and learn. And thank you very much. It's been an absolute blast, mate. Really enjoy it.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me. Great to connect.
Thank you.